Hey everyone, welcome back to Gamecasters, and in this video I'm going to be covering the entirety of the Demon Hunter Season 15 Diablo 3 Demon Hunter build. Before I get sidetracked here, I'm so used to doing stuff on Wizard at this point, it's a little crazy. But this video will cover all the gear and the skills that you will need for Demon Hunter. Now, Demon Hunter is a really fun class to play. It's one of the top ones I recommend playing in the seasonal, or even just in regular game. But Demon Hunter is a really fast-paced, high movement speed, high damage build, which is really fun about it, and you don't ever really stop moving or doing anything. So, let's jump right into here. Now, as I've stated in previous videos, if you see any unrealistic amount of primals, this is purely to show you guys builds. This is not about anything other than that. This is to show you what kind of gear you'll need and stuff like that to Greater Rift. Nothing other than that. So, starting off, the weapon you'll need for the Demon Hunter build is Yang's Recurve, with 10% damage, which is the max roll for that, dex, attack speed, crit hit damage, and then dexterity on your augment gem. Yang's Recurve gives you multi-shot attacks 50% faster, and its damage is increased by 193%. Now, this guy has re-rolled maximum discipline, which is one of your primary stats you'll be going for on this build. Sockets with the emerald in it, and reduces all resource costs by 45%. This one rolled really good for what it is. The set bonus you'll be running is Unhallowed Essence, which, if we go down here, 2 set. Your generators generate 2 additional hatred and 1 discipline. At a 4 set bonus, you gain 60% damage reduction and deal 60% increased damage for 8 seconds if no enemy is within 10 yards of you. So range is preferable with this class, which makes sense because you run hand crossbows or whatever. 6 set bonus, your generators Multishot and Vengeance deal 100% increased damage for every point of discipline you have. Then moving on to your shoulders, you'll be looking for Dex, Vitality, Dexterity, reduce cooldown of all skills by 6%, and chance to deal 20% area damage on hit. Now, this person has re-rolled that stat, which is useful for this build. Chest piece, Cage of the Hellborn, Dex, Vitality, resist all elements, 15% life, Dexterity, and then maximum discipline and 3 diamonds in the sockets. For your headpiece, a diamond in the socket, dexterity, crit hit chance, dexterity from your augment, reduce cooldown of all skills by 12.5%, and then multi-shot damage. Now, usually damages you can reroll for other types. It just depends on which one of your damages are kind of lacking, or if you just want to focus entirely on the one. It depends on how you plan to play. Now, this does run a Traveler's Pledge and a Compass Rose set for your jewelry. So the Traveler's Pledge is, as usual, damage, physical skill damage, crit hit damage, and then you'll be running Zai's Stone of Vengeance. That gives you damage you deal is increased by 60% for every 10 yards between you and the enemy hit, maximum of 68% increased at 50 yards. Gives you a 20% chance to stun, or on hit to stun the enemy for 1 second. That's at a rank 120 legendary gem. And for your bracers, you'll be running Wraps of Clarity, physical skill damage, dex, vite, crit hit chance, and your hatred generators reduce your damage taken by 45% for 5 seconds. Now, I believe the gold stat on the bracers maxes out at 50%, so that's a pretty good roll there. I mean, that's not even an ancient, so that's a pretty damn good bracer set right there. And then your offhand is Dead Man's Legacy, with dexterity, bite, attack speed, crit hit chance, dex from your augment, and then that gives you multi-shot hits enemies below 60% health twice, and its damage is increased by 200%. Excuse me, by the way. 12 maximum discipline and 15% multi-shot damage. And that was a reroll for the damage. And this is also a primal, so this is a pretty good offhand primal here. Looking at convention of elements for your secondary ring with dex, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and a Bane of the Stricken in it. Each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from your attacks by 2%, and that's at 120 level. Gain 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians, which, by the way, this is a Elite Pack Hunt build. Gain 200% increased damage to a single element for 4 seconds. This effect rotates through the elements available to your class in the following order: Arcane, Cold, Fire, Holy, Lightning, Physical, and Poison. And that's the Convention of Elements effect, not the Legendary Gem. Then looking at the Compass Rose, damage, dex, crit hit damage, and chance. And then dex with your augment. With a Bane of the Trapped Legendary Gem socketed into that, that'll also give you increased damage against enemies under the effects of control and pairing effects by 52.2%. And that's at 124. You gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. And also from the Compass Rose Traveler set, with both pieces, you'll gain, while moving, damage taken is reduced up to 50%. And then if you're standing still, your damage dealt is increased up to 100%. Moving on to your boots, you'll be running Hellwalkers, which is part of the Unhallowed Essence set. Dex, Bite, Armor, Dexterity from your augment, and then multi-shot damage. And that was the reroll for this piece. On the the pants, Unholy Plates, Dex, Vitality, Resist all elements, Armor, and Dex from your augment. Looks like they re-rolled Armor for their pants, which is part of the survivability as usual. Pants, boots, and belt are usually the three that give you most of your survivability, because there's not really damage increasing stats or anything on those, most of the time. Witching Hour will be the belt, Dexterity, Vitality, attack speed, crit hit damage, dex from your augment, and looks like they have re-rolled the dex for a max on that, unless it rolled something different before, but that's a primal there. So we're looking at 3 primals, which is believable, and this is the top tier build for Demon Hunter currently in Season 15, so that's at a one, like less than a second left on a 109. So that's, looks like this person's pushing it without having too many primals or anything like super good. So good for you, man. For your skills, you'll be running Evasive Fire with Focus as your rune, Companion with Wolf Companion, Preparation, Invigoration, Vault, Tumble, Vengeance, Seethe, Multishot with Full Broadside. As for your passives, in 1, you'll be running Thrill of the Hunt, Leech, Call of the Weak, and Ambush. And then for your cubed ones, which I'll go through some other players and see if there's any differences in passives, because passives are usually the things you can kind of tweak a bit to your personal preference. As for your cubed items, you'll be looking at Dawn, Visage of Goons, and Elusive Ring. Dawn reduces the cooldown of Vengeance by 65%. Vengeance gains the effect of the Dark Heart rune, which is on the Visage. And Elusive Ring, after casting Shadow Power, Smokescreen, or Vault, takes 60% reduced damage for 8 seconds. So every time you vault, you'll be taking less damage. And as usual with our cubed items, these 3 can be replaced with any of your other items. So say he was to get a Primal Dawn, he would be running the Dawn as his weapon, and then Yang's as his cubed item, and vice versa with everything else. It just all depends on which one you get the better of. Now I'm going to go through some of the other people and see if there's any differences in passives, which I'm not really expecting anything too much different. Well, steady aim and awareness. That's, looks like they replaced leech and ambush with awareness and steady aim in their passives, so you could try that as well. This one's got numbing traps, ambush, awareness, and call the weak. This one has boar companion, gloom with shadow power, rattling roll with vault, vengeance, dark heart, over penetration on impale, and bladed armor with fan of knives. Which actually, this looks like... Huh, there's actually another build pushing up the board right now with Demon Hunter. I actually have not noticed this yet. This is good to know. So, it looks like you guys actually have two options here for builds. It looks like there's a pretty good balance between the two. So I will go ahead and go through that in another video. I didn't realize the Fan of Knives build was coming back on this season, so we'll go through that later. But you guys do have some options with your passives. You can kind of go through those and figure out which ones fit your playstyle best. But there's looks like to be a bit of a mix-up here in different passives, so it all depends on what works best for you and what suits your playstyle. But anyways, that is the top build for Demon Hunter currently. But it looks like Fan of Knives could have the potential to push up. I think, yeah, it looks like the Fan of Knives build is in top 3. So I'll keep you guys updated on that and see if it pushes up. I'll probably do a video on that build, seeing as it's pushing up this high on the board. So you guys have two options for climbing with Demon Hunter. If I do a video on that, I will put a link to that build on here. But if you're already running this build, then I would suggest just sticking to that for this season. But next season, we might see a change. So we'll find out then. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment down below if you have any questions or any suggestions for me to do in a future video. And I will see you guys next time.